Home, Visual, Factory. This is the marketing homepage, the entry point for acquisition review. It introduces a self-hosted platform that automates e-commerce product images on the buyer's own server, not on a shared SaaS. At the top, the sticky header keeps navigation in reach. The Visual Factory logo returns home. Deploy opens the delivery and install guide. API leads to developer documentation. Status shows a live setup checklist. Sign in goes to Bootstrap authentication. The purple Studio button opens the main workspace where operators upload and process images. The Hero section states the core value proposition. The label reads, Turnkey, Self-Hosted E-Commerce Automation. The headline is, Product images on your infrastructure, processing, storage, and data remain under the buyer's control. The subtext explains the operating model. Docker deploy, Studio plus Q, and background processing without mandatory third-party image API fees. 2 calls to action sit below. Try Studio for a hands-on demo and deployment guide for the full buyer package. Below the hero, 5 feature cards summarize how the product works in practice. Marketplace-ready images, e-commerce, portrait, and social presets with background removal, watermark, WebP export, and bulk zip download. Self-hosted on your VPS, a Docker turnkey package. Data never leaves the buyer's infrastructure, and there's no platform subscription. No mandatory image API. Background_mode. WebP runs a built-in engine on the server. Remove.bg remains optional for premium quality. Setup verification built in. The status page validates Redis, the worker, and the background engine automatically. Catalog CSV at scale. Match SK use to image files and queue hundreds of products in one batch. At the bottom, ownership and install closes the acquisition story. Visual Factory is sold with exclusive IP transfer. The buyer becomes sole owner at closing. Links point to turnkey details, live setup status, and the API and SDK for engineering teams. Hardware requirements, install steps, and legal transfer documents ship in the delivery package. Visual Factory. Self-hosted image automation. Fully documented. Yours to own. Plans page. This screen defines optional tiered billing for your own deployment, not a hosted SaaS subscription from the seller. Enable Stripe by configuring Stripe keys in your environment, and end users upgrade through self-serve checkout on your server. 3 plans are shown side by side. Starter, free. 50 images per month, core templates, WebP output, and bulk zip download. Ideal for evaluation and small teams. Professional, $49 per month. 2,000 images, all marketplace templates, webhook API, priority queue, and the audit dashboard. This is highlighted as the recommended tier. Enterprise custom pricing. High volume quota. Dedicated worker, SSO, and custom integrations, SLO, alerting, and priority support. Use the contact flow for bespoke terms. Signed-in users see their current plan and can manage subscriptions through the Stripe portal when enabled. New users start on Starter and upgrade from Studio or sign-in. Visual Factory pricing, your deployment, your revenue. Login, Studio sign-in. This page handles authentication for the self-hosted deployment. There is no password database and no user registration. Sign-in uses Bootstrap Auth, designed for fast turnkey installs on the buyer's own server. The header reads Studio Sign-in. The subtitle explains that plan and role are assigned from server configuration, not from this form. Above the fields, a collapsible buyer guide, how sign-in works, documents the full auth model for operators and developers. Click Show to expand it during onboarding. The sign-in form is straightforward. Enter your email as session identity. In turnkey mode, the company account is fixed from install defaults and shown as read-only context, while plan and role also come from environment variables. In local development, any email works with no password. In production, teams should use sign-in with SSO when OIDC is configured. Alternatively, an access key from AYouth Bootstrap key, generated during setup prod, protects web sign-in without building a user database. Submit Open Studio or returns to the page you requested, such as pricing or admin. Footer links point to home, pricing, and the buyer deployment guide. Visual Factory sign-in. Simple form. Server-controlled policy. Production-ready SSO.
Part 1. Operations Console. Visual Factory Admin Suite, starting with the Operations Console. This is the health dashboard for your deployment. A setup guide banner reads Live Signals and tells you if the system is healthy, degraded, missing a worker, or incomplete, with fix commands for local dev and Docker. 3 panels matter most. Queue shows waiting, active, and dead letter jobs plus mode. Redis for production scale, or degraded without Redis. Workers lists heartbeat detected processors and health scores. Usage tracks plan tier, monthly image quota, and utilization. The console refreshes every 30 seconds from platform metrics, billing counters, and install check. Security. Admin or owner session required. API keys cannot access admin routes. Pages are no index. Data is tenant scoped, not public. Part 2. Integrations. The integration package connects image processing to your wider stack. Shopify Sync, Zapier, Make, signed B2B webhooks, and generic outbound hooks. Register an HTTPS endpoint. Subscribe to job completed and job failed. Test dispatch, then go live. On each event, the platform posts a signed JSON payload with trace ID and retry logic. Security. Tenant-scoped subscriptions, HAMAC signatures on outbound calls, egress gateway blocking private IPs, and enforcing HTTPS in production, plus signature verification on inbound webhooks. Part 3. Storage lifecycle. Object storage and lifecycle keeps disk and S3 usage under control. Prefix rules define retention. Tenants 30 days, queue 7 days, integrations 14 days. Dry run previews deletions. Run cleanup executes them. Schedule via cron in production. Security. Admin-only access. Deletion limited to configured prefixes. Dry run recommended before purge. Part 4. Workflows. The Workflow Builder is the advanced pipeline editor, a visual DAG of registered handlers. Validate, remove background, enhance, watermark, export. Save versioned definitions, run a debug test, or edit as JSON. Handlers are server registered, not arbitrary code from the browser. Security. Admin-only APIs, tenant-scoped versions. Debug runs use a dry run context. Closing. Together, operations shows if the platform is alive. Integrations automates what happens after jobs finish. Storage enforces retention. Workflows lets you extend the pipeline without forking code. All 4 surfaces share the same security model. Role-gated admin access, signed sessions, hardened egress, verified webhooks, and rule-bound cleanup. Visual Factory Admin. Operate, integrate, retain, extend. Secure by default.
Studio, the main workspace for e-commerce image automation. The layout is 3 columns built for batch production on your own server. Left panel, Controls. Pick a marketplace template or set custom dimensions. Configure background removal, color and light adjustments, and watermark, text or logo. Changes preview instantly on the canvas. Center, Live Canvas viewport. Upload a product, and every left panel setting renders here in real time. Progress and status appear while jobs run. Right panel, Pipeline. Counters show total done and pending jobs. Drag and drop images to queue them, or expand catalog bulk import for CSV-driven workflows at scale. A link to analytics opens processing history. At the bottom, process runs the batch through your queue, using the WASM background engine by default. Zip exports all completed files. Download latest grabs the most recent result. Clear queue resets the session. Quick Start onboarding walks new operators through template, upload, and export in 3 steps. Visual Factory Studio. Configure left, preview center, produce right.
Setup status. This page exists because Visual Factory is self-hosted. There is no vendor-operated control plane. The buyer runs the app, Redis, and worker on their own VPS. Before processing catalog images in production, operators need a single, trustworthy answer. Is this deployment actually ready? That is what setup status delivers. It is a live readiness audit, not a static checklist in a PDF. When the page loads, the browser calls two endpoints in parallel: install check and health. On the server, the install check routine evaluates your environment in real time. It reads configuration from environment files, probes Redis with a live ping, scans for recent worker heartbeats in Redis, verifies the background removal engine is available, WAS by default or remove.bg when configured, and validates security prerequisites such as session secrets, webhook signing keys, tenant defaults, and public app URL in production. Each required item maps to a concrete subsystem. Redis reachable means the bull MQQ can accept jobs. The image processing worker means a separate worker container, or an inline dev worker, is consuming that queue. Heartbeats are written to Redis every 30 seconds with a 90-second TTL, so the check reflects actual runtime presence, not just a configured URL. The background removal engine confirms the pipeline can run without silent failure. Session security ensures signed cookies and API context are not using placeholder secrets. The UI translates those technical probes into operator language. A percentage score shows past versus required checks. Green means setup is complete. Amber means specific gaps remain. Each failed row includes a fix hint, such as starting Docker Redis, enabling the inline worker in development, or running setup production for production secrets. Why this matters for buyers? It reduces time to first image, catches misconfiguration before batch jobs fail, and gives engineering teams a curl-friendly endpoint for CI smoke tests after deployment. Studio can still run in degraded mode without Redis for local demos, but production buyers are guided toward Docker plus Redis plus a dedicated worker, exactly as documented in Getting Started. When ready, next steps point to sign-in, Studio, and optional automation via the Install Check API. Visual Factory Setup Status, Live Probes, Actionable Fixes, Production Confidence. API and SDK. This page serves engineering teams integrating Visual Factory into their stack, whether that is APIM, ERP, marketplaces, or custom automation. The platform exposes a REST API for async image processing, optional billing meters, and outbound webhooks. The Open API 3 spec ships in repo and is served live at /API/OpenAPI. Import it into Swagger or Postman for contract-first development. Behind the scenes, uploads become queue jobs processed by the same worker pipeline as Studio. Clients in queue with multi-part form data receive a job ID, then poll status or subscribe to the job events stream. The TypeScript SDK in packages /SDK wraps in queue, polling, and Open API discovery. The code sample on this page shows the full pattern in just a few lines. API keys are configured via tenant_API_keys in your environment. There is no separate auth service. Machine clients use the key header, while browser sessions use cookies from Bootstrap sign-in. Why include this page? Buyers are not locked into the UI alone. They can wire bulk processing into existing workflows, run CI against a documented contract, and onboard developers without reverse engineering the codebase. Links to Open API JSON and Setup Status sit at the bottom for health checks before go live. Visual Factory API. Documented, typed, queue-backed. Terms of use. This page is a buyer-facing summary on the marketing site. The binding agreement is license.md version 2.1, full asset and intellectual property transfer. The seller exits completely after closing. Section 1. Full ownership transfer. Visual Factory is sold as a complete, exclusive acquisition. Upon payment and delivery, the buyer becomes the sole owner of the source code, documentation, Docker assets, the Visual Factory product name, and all seller-created intellectual property. This is not a limited license or subscription. Section 2. Buyer rights. You have 100% control. Modify, rebrand, resell, sublicense, or open source. Run SaaS or agency services and keep all revenue. Sell the product again to a third party. Remove all seller branding. Section 3. Seller severance. After closing, the seller must not operate, market, or develop the product. All copies are deleted, listings are removed, there is no revenue share, no ongoing rights, and no support duty, unless a new contract is signed separately. Section 4. Third-party licenses. Open source NPM packages and optional APIs, such as remove.bg, Stripe, and img.ly, remain under their own terms. See third_party_notices.md in the delivery package. Section 5. Delivery as is at closing. There are no updates from the seller after transfer, unless agreed in writing. For due diligence, this page confirms what acquirers need: full ownership, no seller lock-in, clear third-party boundaries, and a clean handoff. Visual factory terms. Sole owner at closing. Seller out. Buyer in control.